Hello and welcome back to the Sleepless Podcast, where I interview people that are much more qualified than me in just about every way and form. And what a very, very special guest I have with me today, starting from basically the start. Diamond Creek captain, multiple VWFL premierships, 3-time Diamond Creek BNF, pick number 2 in the women's exhibition game to the Western Bulldogs and the captain, pick 11 to the Pies in the 2016 AFLW National Draft, and the captain ever since, and the current co-captain, Steph Chiocci.
Thanks, Jazz. That's a great little intro. Done your research. And I think you're selling yourself short. You're doing a great job with these podcasts.
I'm trying my best, and I felt like, you were probably the first person I had in mind to put on the podcast because you are probably the closest connection I have to a star at the moment, I think.
Oh, I'll take that. I'm not quite sure I'm a star, but, I do what I can.
Other than all of those accolades, obviously, I think the most important thing is that you are a teacher at Barkdale Secondary College, which
That's it.
In my opinion is the most important, as you had the pleasure of teaching me and my mates and stuff.
Yeah, we survived that. Maybe I should add that to the resume too. I do reference Parky as often as I can, mainly so they look after me when I need to take leave in case we go into a hub, basically. But no, I'm very proud of Parky, and you boys were pretty good for most of the time.
I reckon our year was probably the biggest letdown ever. The amount of times we were told, the years before you were state champions and blah, 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 and we came in and just kind of did our thing.
Did you think? And then academically, I think you always got sort of compared to the year level that's coming through now, weren't you? So, yeah, probably the school's probably happy you've moved on, to be honest. No, I'm kidding. You actually did quite well. We were very impressed with the scores and, the number of students that have gone to tertiary studies and job work in the workforce now, obviously. So did pretty well. How did you go?
I did not bad. Obviously, I got into the course that I wanted to. So
that's what you want.
That's about what matters.
Perfect.
Obviously, we'll touch on the teaching and that a little bit after, but I'm going to sort of start from the very, very start. And something that people might not know, but they might also know, is that you're actually a Carlton fan growing up.
Big Carlton fan growing up. And to be fair, I get asked a lot whether I still am a Carlton supporter, and I feel as though I have to say no. And anytime I am caught sort of referencing the men, I definitely don't support the Carlton women's, but anytime I get caught sort of referencing the men or making comment on Twitter, because I do watch their games weekly, I do get a bit of scrutiny from some Pies fans who just think it's so totally wrong that I'm watching their game, number one, and commenting on them. So I will say that I do support them. I really, really do, because as you would know, Jazz, when you love a football club, it's very hard to get rid of that.
Very hard.
And
yes,
that passion and that feeling. I want them to do well, but obviously, I wear the black and white stripes, and I want our boys to do well as well. So it's a weird situation.
Of course. What was it sort of like when you got drafted to the Pies after being a Carlton fan for your whole life, like in your family's reaction especially?
Yeah, it was interesting. So Dad, obviously big Carlton family, big Italian Carlton family. So, lots and lots of people supporting Carlton. Dad actually wore a Carlton jumper, like a playing jumper, underneath his T-shirt or polo and jacket to the draft. So Collingwood had pick 11, Bulldogs had pick 12, and Carlton had pick 13. And basically they'd all sort of alluded to the fact that if I was there with their second pick, they would take me.
Yeah.
And, so obviously Collingwood called my name out, which I was grateful for. And we went to the club afterward for like a celebratory, meet people, have a drink, have something to eat. And Dad's got photos of him like lifting up his shirt, showing his Carlton jumper outside the Holden Centre in front of the black and white stripes, which is kind of funny. But he's the first to admit that he is the number one supporter for our women's team and still a Carlton fan. And he's a Carlton member as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Even when we go and play at Icon Park, you walk through the main entrance and on the wall is the Chiocci names. Like my name's on there. My brothers, my sister, mum, dad, uncles, aunties, nonno. Yeah, so that's a bit weird, but he's still a member. So he gets access to their women's games as well, which is weird.
That is weird. I was going to say, like, I'd understand him going for your women's team as well, because like before the Saints women's team got in there, I guess Collingwood was my team as well, purely because I knew you were playing for them. I was like, that's the closest we had to it.
Yeah. for sure. The
That's very
Saints
funny.
are doing
And
okay.
we actually are. I've been watching
Yeah.
every game, and we've been pretty on.
Yeah, no, they're good. They've got some good youngsters. They'll come good. They'll definitely come good.
And you said before at the Holden Centre with the Carlton jumper, I've actually got, because my dad is diehard Collingwood, like literally diehard, but I'm obviously diehard Saints. And I've got at the front of the Holden Centre, in front of the statue of, I think it's Nathan Buckley at the front. Is it? Who's at the front?
There's a Lou Richards one. I believe.
Oh, I don't know what other one. Whatever one it is. There's
I
these
should
bricks.
probably know that. Well done.
There's these bricks that have the names of like people that could buy a thing, and on one of them, my name is on a brick outside the Holden Centre.
Oh, you're kidding! I'll have a look at that. I know exactly where that is. As you walk into the store there. Yeah, I know on Olympic Boulevard. I know exactly where that is. I'll have a look now.
Yeah, so my name is on one of those bricks out front of the Collingwood Holden Centre. Even though I'm a diehard,
he tried to convert you. He tried to convert you. It didn't work.
So obviously ended up at Collingwood, but obviously went through all these different teams, and you obviously started at Diamond Creek.
Yes.
What was sort of that journey into Diamond Creek? Was that sort of just one of the only footy teams? Like, how did you sort of come up through the juniors and everything playing into Diamond Creek?
Yeah, so I grew up in Eltham, which is sort of northeast in Victoria. I usually say Doncaster because people don't know where Eltham is. So Doncaster, then add 15 minutes. And to be fair, I didn't start playing football until I was 17. So there was, to my knowledge, no junior girls competition. I think you could play with the boys up until 12. You were 12. There was a youth girls competition that came into play in 2004, but I wasn't aware of it. So I could have played that. But basically, I just begged mum and dad to let me play for years. And they were like, no, you will break in half. You're very, very skinny. I'm not overly big and strong. And to be fair, I think they had a point because back then the quality of football was a lot different. But the beauty of footy is that, you know, any shape, size, height, whatever it might be, can play. So there were some really, really strong women running around. And I'd heard of Diamond Creek, and I worked at Rebel Sport in Greensborough. And one of my mates was a captain at the time, Megan. And she's like, why don't you just come on down? And I said, look, Dad won't let me. Mum won't let me. They think I'm going to break in half. And she's like, she knew my dad. She's like, I'll talk to Rob. I'll try and convince him. Anyway, and she did. And he's like, righto, in year 12. So I'm in year 12, Jared. Can you imagine starting football in year 12? My priorities completely shifted. And then they went, yep, okay, you can go. And I went down and, haven't looked back since. And I reckon that's why my year 12 wasn't very good, because I spent way too much time at the club, hanging out after the games and, not really focusing on my studies.
That's actually great. And you said obviously there's no there wasn't that youth sort of development through. It's awesome that now like you're kind of the one that's starting this whole new thing. I was reading like the stats before about how many more junior girls competitions there are like related to footy, and that's just because of this absolute explosion of AFLW, which is awesome. Yeah,
that's it. Well, there's a clear pathway now, isn't there? Like you got the NABOZ kick, and then you've got the TAC series for the girls as well, youth girls competition into the NAB AFLW. So I think when you can see something, and you know, little girls and boys at home can see girls playing football and boys playing football, that's really important. And like we're in the southeast region now, and there's so many female junior football teams, which is awesome.
I noticed that even like at school as well, like as the years sort of got past, our year had I think 2 girls in the ESP program, and then the year after us there was like 3 or 4, and then it kind of just it builds each year as well, which is
I think there's close to 20 odd now. There's a core group in year 10, about 4 or 5 in that afternoon program, and I know the junior numbers are increasing, so it's exciting.
Absolutely. So at Diamond Creek, you obviously had a lot of success there as well. Are there any players that are in the AFLW now or were that you played with in Diamond Creek or at Diamond Creek or?
Yeah, plenty. So that first, the draft, there were 16 of us drafted, or 15, and then one came on as a rookie. So we, Diamond Creek, we were successful, but then we weren't. It's hard to explain because we played Darebin in the local.
I was going to touch on Darebin,
and we played in 7 grand finals against them and won 1. So we were successful, but then we kind of weren't. But we did have 15 girls drafted, which I think was the equal most. I think Melbourne Uni came close. So girls like Katie Loynes, who's now captaining Carlton, who's one of my closest friends. Like I literally just got off the phone to her before. Played with her. Laura Corrigan was at Melbourne. Shay Audley was at Carlton. Still running around now, Kirsty Lamb, who's at Western Bulldogs, and she's having a really good season. So plenty of girls that sort of come through the ranks with me there. And yeah, absolutely love my time at Diamond Creek, but it was great to see those girls get an opportunity.
Yeah, of course. I was going to touch on sort of Darebin as well, because I know that Diamond Creek and Darebin are obviously they're kind of the two powerhouses of women's footy. And like when there was obviously the exhibition games with the Doggies in Melbourne, it was kind of a lot made up of Diamond Creek and Darebin. They used to have they had an exhibition game of the two teams, wasn't it, at one point?
It was more so Darebin in those exhibition series. Not a lot. It's funny, and not a lot of our Diamond Creek girls probably got the credit they deserved at that level. So at one stage, it was like myself and a handful of the other girls representing Diamond Creek in those games. But Darebin were very, very well represented. So Daisy Pearce was a captain of Darebin, Lauren Arnell, Katie Brennan, Mel Hickey, Kaz Paxman, Elise O'Day. Like, these girls are still running around now.
Yeah.
Obviously Mel Hickey's retired, but yeah, there were so many Darebin girls, and we hated each other. We respected them, but I mean, when you get beaten in 6 grand finals by that team, you're not
gets a bit sick of it.
Yeah, you get a bit over it. So, but they were very good, and they were coached by Peter Searle, who coaches St Kilda. So yeah.
When you were obviously playing in these teams back then, there wasn't sort of that established AFLW. Obviously, they had the ideas for a few years before it actually happened. So when you were obviously getting into footy, you decided on teaching at the same time. While you're doing that, why did you sort of decide on teaching as sort of your day job, I guess?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I alluded to before, I didn't do quite well at year 12. I mean, I didn't. To be fair, I could have. I just didn't apply myself. Yeah. Like, I think I remember sitting down. You do your careers meeting, and yes. I remember sitting down with our careers lady. I went to Catholic Ladies College in Eltham, so independent Catholic female school. You know, high standards, and sat down with the careers teacher. I can't remember her name, and she's like, "Look, you're probably on track to get in the 80s for your HR." I was like, "Oh, you beauty! I'm doing okay here." Started playing football. Didn't care as much. You know what it's like. You get caught up in sort of that second family, and like, I didn't do badly, but I certainly didn't get into any courses that I wanted to. So after that, I was like, well, what can I do? I enjoy sort of helping others. And so it took me a couple of years to get into the course. I actually did, like, I was a teacher's aide for a little bit. I was the AFL Sports Ready trainee at Siena College my first year out, and then just worked like full-time as a receptionist, worked at a physio, and then I was like, I better get into uni now. So yeah, I applied for RMIT, Bachelor of Applied Science, PE teaching, and got in as a 21-year-old. So yeah, I was a little bit older than the others coming through, and yeah, thankfully, then got a job at Parkdale once I graduated. But yeah, just wanted to help people, combine my passion of, I suppose, sport and educating. So that's how I sort of fell into teaching.
Of course. Did Parkdale sort of, like, did you apply to Parkdale and then end up getting through that way, or did they sort of like how did you get into sort of just Parkdale?
Yeah, I knew Miss Brown, so Erin Brown. Had a connection with her through football, and she said, look, you should apply for this job here at Parkdale. It was a full-time job. It was a PE maths job, and I wasn't maths trained, but you can still get the job if they like you enough. Anyway, apparently I interviewed quite well, but I was runner-up to Mr. Jack Cramery. So he got the job. He was maths trained. That's what I'm going to put it down to. So he was PE maths. He got the job, and Mr. Greg McMahon at the time called me and said, we really thought you interviewed well. We love what you could bring to our school in terms of football. So they kind of created this 3-day-a-week job that turned into a full-time job that turned into 8 years later. So yeah, very lucky, very lucky.
Early days, obviously, it wasn't too hard to sort of balance footy and teaching at the same time. Obviously, it's difficult, but how is it sort of now with AFLW being this big thing? How hard is it to sort of manage both? And I know that last year you took some time off teaching to sort of focus more on footy. So how hard is it to sort of balance?
Yeah, the first few years wasn't an issue because, like you said, it wasn't AFLW. It was local footy. The only annoying thing was driving an hour to Diamond Creek.
I remember you telling me about those.
Yeah, I live out this way now. So that was frustrating. But I took leave without pay term 1 last year just to focus on footy. I thought I could give a lot more to my team, be a better teammate, be a better leader, and probably had my best season to date. And then now, obviously, I'm back working full time. You can't be expected to take time off every year. So fully understand why I'm not able to do that this year, but it just means balance. It's a real balancing act. Like when I get home from training at 10 or whatever time it is. Need to make sure that I've eaten, showered, and get to bed when I can, just so I can sleep and recover. But it is taxing on the body. There's times where I'm at work and you sort of feel a bit zoned out.
Yeah.
And you know what it's like when you play football, your mind is sort of all footy, and then there's review and edits, and I'm getting messages about football, and then I've got this meeting coming up. So it's a little bit overwhelming, but you just got to find time to switch off and focus on what you're actually doing. So when I'm at work, I'm teaching, and then obviously sitting around the office as a coordinator, you might have other issues to deal with. It's kind of a nice break from football. But on the other hand, I'm missing out on some things that I could be doing to better myself. So, yeah, it's challenging, but I'll just take sick leave when I need to. And let's hope we don't have to go into a hub. So hopefully by the time this goes to air on your Instagram, that we're still not in a hub and we're good.
I was going to say, when we are recording this, when we are recording this, we are currently on the 4th day of our 5-day lockdown.
That's it.
Unless they extend it and we're still in lockdown by the time I release this. Let's hope not.
Yes.
Pray not.
Yeah, let's hope not. So, yeah.
But yeah, you're saying obviously that last year you think it's been your best year, and then you're obviously back to full time this year. I still think you're having a good year this year. I mean, you're 3-3 so far, so clearly aren't doing too terribly.
Yeah, the team's playing really well. Richmond, they'll win some games of footy this year. They were actually very good on the weekend, very tough. But yeah, we're 3-0. We've never gone 3-0 at the start of a season ever in our history. So you've definitely made some steps forward. We've got a really big game this Saturday against North Melbourne at Marvel. So that'll sort of tell us where we're at. We've played, we beat Carlton in round 1, who were touted to be premiership favourites. Obviously played Geelong and then played Richmond. So playing North, who could play completely different to those 3 teams, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah. And I think after your footy career is done, I reckon you've definitely got a career in coaching, as you coached our boys for a lot of our early years as well. I remember the number one thing you taught us is obviously the don't chest mark, and you had the best reasons as to why not to chest mark.
You remember that? Fantastic.
I do.
It's funny because I'm like, where's he going with this? I don't know what I say when I talk sometimes. So don't chest mark.
Don't chest mark. And you're like, if you're me, you don't want to chest mark. And so it's like, don't chest mark.
I love that you remember that. And you know what's funny? I reckon I do the most chest marks out of everyone in my team. But anyway, just safety first.
Always the don't chest mark.
Too many marks.
No, that's the number one thing I remember. Almost to this day, just the don't chest mark is always in the brain.
Boys had a bit of a giggle, no doubt.
I mean, we were U7, so you just laugh at everything at that point. When obviously before I even knew you, the exhibition games had sort of become a thing, and there was that draft before where you went to either Doggies or Melbourne as the 2 teams. How did that sort of work? As in, did they tell you before what was going to happen, or how did they pick the players? And
that was really weird. So still no talks of AFLW National League at this point. So this would have been end of 2012-13.
Yep.
And there was a lady by the name of Debbie Lee, who's quite big in our world. She's the one that sort of drove a lot of what happened here in Victoria with football. And she sort of flagged, I remember after one of the games, she's like, said to Katie Loynes and I, she goes, "Are you 2 going to nominate for this draft?" I'm like, "Well, what's it about?" She's like, "Well, Bulldogs and Melbourne are going to basically go pick for pick. They'll flip a coin to see who goes first." So obviously it was Melbourne first and Doggies, and then they'll alternate picks. And we're just going to have a once-off game to showcase women's footy. I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool.
That's good, yeah.
We'll reward the 2 teams that sort of supported us. They supported the VWFL, as it called back then. So Melbourne had a bit to do with us and Bulldogs. Anyway, cut a really long story short, went to draft night. We knew that Melbourne had pick 1 and Bulldogs pick 2. And, it's just the rest is history. They called out my name with pick 2. So anyone could nominate for it.
Yep.
It didn't matter who you were, just you self-nominate. Got called out with pick 2, surprised me and probably a lot of others. Then went 3, 4, 5, whatever. And it was, I think, 20 on each list, 22 on each list maybe.
Yep.
And played a once-off game at the MCG, which was pretty cool. And that was what we thought that'd be the end of it. But obviously we played for another 2 or 3 years in that exhibition series. So
absolutely. I do remember those. What was it like sort of playing in front of those bigger crowds? I remember one of maybe the last exhibition game between Doggies and Melbourne had a massive crowd. But in terms of all of them,
the first one was pretty cool because it was at the MCG. I think I'd played on there before in an All-Australian sort of camp squad game.
Yep.
But the first one was pretty unreal. It was at night time. A lot of people made the effort to be there. I can't remember the numbers, but it was huge. And then the last ever game in 2016 at Whitten Oval, there were 6,000 people there, and over 1 million viewers at one point on Channel 7. So that was like huge for women's footy. And there was obviously, they'd already set up the National League to start the next year. So I think people were kind of just tuning in to see what it was about. So yeah, that was really exciting, and probably our first taste of playing in front of a crowd. I don't know if you've ever played in front of a crowd before, but the most we ever had to a local game was when Joe Stanley, who was on the Fox. I don't know if you remember Matt and Joe, the Matt and Joe show. You're probably a bit young. Was on Fox FM. She was a journo, and presenter, and she came down and played with us at Diamond Creek for like a once-off game, to bit of promotion, and we probably would have had like 500 people there, and it was like the biggest crowd ever. So yeah, to go from that to 6,000 people was pretty big. To then go from that to 25 or whatever it was in the lockout, huge.
Yeah, I will definitely touch on the lockout as well. With that last game, I remember so specifically in my head watching it, and I remember being like, "Gee, she looks a lot browner than I've seen her before."
Yeah, I got a fake tan, so thanks for asking. I'm not opposed to a fake tan. I'm Italian heritage, obviously, come from Italian background, but I'm so pale, which is fine. And I truly believe there's nothing healthy about a tan. So Bondi Sands is my go-to, and I still do it to this day. So before games, I do arms and legs, just an FYI.
I just remember it was so funny. Like I was just like, "Gee, you look browner." I think we got to school and I was like, "Did you bit of fake tan?"
Yeah, well, when you know you're going to be on TV, Jazz, you've got to make sure that you're looking the part. But no, you feel. It must be a female. I don't know. Ask your guy mates. But for females to be tanned, it makes you feel good. Don't know what it is.
I feel
more
the same.
confident.
It's always good to have a tan, obviously. So obviously you're not at the Doggies anymore because that was just the whole exhibition thing. Do you still miss sort of the Doggies and like that, like how grateful you are towards them to give that opportunity sort of thing?
Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at the Western Bulldogs and what the opportunities it presented. It was just a very unique situation, and they had an opportunity to secure me with their priority pick if they wanted to, but I didn't play very well for them, to be fair. Even though I was their captain, I think I didn't really do much on the field except for the last game or two. Like I played quite well then, so that's fine. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm fairly certain. There's a footy record with Bob Murphy and myself on the front cover that's still in their little memorabilia walk through sort of whatever that is there at the front there. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But I actually enjoy watching their women's team play now. I've got a lot of respect for Ali Blackburn, their captain, and I think she's a star. So I do keep tabs on them, that's for sure.
Of course, yeah. And then after the exhibition games, obviously the birth of AFLW into the draft and everything, you went pick 11 to the Pies.
Yep.
Was the first round only the priority picks? Was that the sort of how that went? Was that what that was sort of thing?
No. So with the 8 teams, it was they had the 2 marquee players.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me. So that was basically a free for all. So if you wanted to go get, Emma Carney or Katie Brennan, you'd sort of go, "Hey, we're Collingwood. We want you. This is what we can give you." Although it's a tiered paid system, so there's no money involved really.
Of course, yeah.
They get the top money anyway, but it's more so trying to pitch your team and your club and your culture to them.
Yep.
And then so you sign 2. So Collingwood signed Emma King and Mo Hope. And priority pick usually goes to someone who's working within the club or the industry.
Yep.
So Collingwood took Meg Hutchins, who was there doing a football operations role, which makes sense. So that's what I meant with Doggies could have signed me and said, "Well, you've been our captain. There's no one else that has ties to the club." But they went with Emma Carney, which, to be fair, I probably would have gone with Emma Carney as well. She's a league best and fairest winner. She's, one of the top 3 midfielders in the league. So, yeah, those were done prior to the draft. And then the draft was literally
just the players. Yeah.
Just the players, yeah.
Of course. Were you worried about sort of going interstate, or did you plan to go interstate at all, or how were you going to sort of go around that?
No, so you had to nominate for either the Vic-based draft or the national draft, basically. So Vic teams could only pick Vic players. Some girls who, might not have been confident that they were going to get picked up might have selected both.
Yep.
But, yeah, it's the same today as well. So now it's Vic or Geelong region,
Yep.
or national. And then obviously Queensland draft, New South Wales draft, which like it's funny for New South Wales because it's only one team, but you know, you can pick from there. And then the girls that don't get picked up, it's kind of like free agency. So if you're nominated for Vic and you didn't get picked up, someone might go, hey, would you like to come to Queensland and play for Brisbane? And it's your choice. So yeah, I wasn't too worried about that.
No, that's all right then. What's it like sort of leading Collingwood? Obviously you got selected as captain in their first year, first ever captain. Sort of, how did you feel being one of the first, like the originals to sort of build this team?
Yeah, it was pretty cool because we'd actually drafted 9 club captains to Collingwood. So in that first season, like there's girls that I've been playing against for years who were captains of their local club. So always felt really well supported, and we had so many leaders. So I think that's what made it extra special to be elected and voted in, you know, considering the caliber of players we had there. But yeah, well, like it was exciting, but it was also really daunting. Like you just didn't know what to expect. I'd never expected to be a captain. I didn't play football to be a captain. I didn't go to Collingwood to be a captain. I just wanted to play football. So you kind of just take what's sort of given to you. And I was very, very honoured, but it's a big learning. It's like anything. And I seriously liken it to when you drive a car. Like there's so much you do on your learners, and you do your hours and you learn this, that and the other. But when you're actually on your P's and you're by yourself, you learn so much more, I think, anyway. And that's sort of like leadership. I felt you get thrown into that position, and yes, you've got support around you, but you kind of learn things as you go and you evolve and adapt. And yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing, really.
Yeah, perfect. And obviously still captain, so clearly doing something right over the past couple of years.
Yeah, I don't know if they just feel sorry for me because we weren't winning in the first 3 years, and they like, we'll reward her. But no, look, pretty stoked to still have the ability to lead the team and be alongside Bree Davey, who, you know, obviously was a captain of Carlton and came across last year, was our vice captain. And I just, have so much respect for her, and we just bounce ideas off each other, and it's working really well. So, and we're winning games of football now, which is really nice. Makes it a bit easier.
Talking on Carlton again, the first game ever, first AFLW game, the lockout at Icon Park was unbelievable. I was at that game with my dad because, you know, Collingwood fan. And we got in, I think we got in with like 2 minutes before Gil had to get out and say, like, everyone turn around. So we didn't get a spot. We didn't get a seating. We had to stand at the very back up against the wall at Icon Park.
That's crazy, isn't it? Well, it's funny, like the official numbers are something like 25,800 or something. I don't know, but there's so many rumours to suggest there was about 28,000 in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think they can report that because I'll get in trouble. So, yeah, like it was huge. And I remember we rocked up on our team bus. So we caught a bus from the Holden Centre. So we rocked up and there was heaps of cars in the car park 2 hours prior to the game because that's when we get there. And I thought, okay, there's a few people here. They were talking maybe 6 or 7 because originally the game was scheduled for the Holden Centre.
Yes.
I'm fairly certain it was scheduled for the Holden Centre, which is 4,000 people.
Yeah.
So they moved it, and saw sort of people walking in already. I was like, gee, they're keen. Like, I hate getting to games 2 hours before. Like, for me, if it was up to me, I'd get there an hour before. But anyway.
The only time I ever do that is I went to the 2017 grand final, and I went like at like 10:30 in the morning to get my spot.
Yeah, to secure your spot, and that's fair enough. But no, the waiting around. I mean, I know why we get there early because you get your taping done, your physio, there's meetings and all that. But it's a long time. Anyway, there was heaps of people there already, and we did like I always walk out onto the ground and go to the middle, suss the wind in case I win the toss, which I very rarely do. I don't have a good record with it. And I remember walking out there and there was heaps of people, and then I did this jog, and I don't know if you've seen the footage, but I was running backwards and I actually tripped, and there was about 10,000 people in.
I think I have seen that.
Yeah, they put that mute shooting star music to it. Yeah, it's somewhere on the socials, and like legs went up and like rolled back and got laughed at, and there were about 10,000 people in at that stage. So how embarrassing is that? But lots and lots of people. Crazy.
Yeah, no, I can definitely vouch for there being more than the 25, whatever it was, because there was like, it was packed. I remember like standing at the back, and like we were even trying to sneak spots here and there, but you literally couldn't. It was absolutely ridiculous. Obviously, you didn't get the win in the end. I think Darcy Vesio ended up being pretty dominant in that game, from what I remember. Yeah, from what I remember, she was
3. I think we kicked 1 goal and she kicked 3. So we weren't going to win that one.
Didn't you kick? I think you kicked the first point, didn't you?
Thanks for bringing this up because you know what?
I knew that.
Everyone forgets this.
I knew
Everyone
that.
talks about Jazzy Garner kicking the first goal. But I'll have you know, Jared, I had the first free kick, the first kick, and the first point.
I knew that.
Surely that's going to end up on a Carlton draft cap or something. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, I did. I kicked the first point.
I knew it was in my brain somewhere. Like, because I was just thinking back, I'm like, I 100% know that she kicked the first point because I remember being there.
You know that, and I didn't have to tell you that because usually it's people who know that is who I've told. Even the new draftees that came in this year.
You tell them?
Oh, bloody oath! I told them. And then if someone was there, like, nah, Jazzy kicked the goal before you kicked the point. I'm like, mate, I am telling you.
Sure, yeah.
So we went back onto the AFL Women's app, and these like 5 18-year-olds are sitting around. I'm like, come here, ladies, have a look here. And they're like, oh, look at that. Here we go.
Other than kicking the first point in AFLW, what's sort of been your best moments sort of on a footy field? Like what do you reckon?
Always go team when I think of these moments, but I think our team win in year 2, I reckon it would have been round 3 or 4 in Alice Springs against Melbourne. Wayne Seekman, our coach, was under the pump. Kate Sheehan had called for his head, and yeah, we weren't winning, and we went up to Alice. We spent a day or 2 there beforehand. We meant to go into community and meet the Indigenous schools and things like that. But there was a bit of unrest, so it was a really interesting trip. We learned a lot about the culture and everything, and yeah, just loved being there. And we weren't expected to beat Melbourne, and we did, and it was awesome. So yeah, that was a great win. What else sort of sticks out? Just, I think the round 2 win last year against Carlton, first time we'd beaten them. Always find it a really emotional game because of the ties I have to them, and my best friend plays there, and there's just so much history between Carlton and Collingwood, obviously. So I think beating them and the way we played in that round 2 game sort of proved to us that what we were doing with our new coach was working.
Yep.
So yeah, that was quite significant as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, and this year's game against Carlton was awesome as well to watch. And it was a very good game to watch, and you obviously get the win again this year.
Yeah, first time we've ever won a season opener against them. So that was fun.
You touched on when you fell over in front of 10,000 people before. Are there any sort of like those funny moments where you've kind of just gone, that's going to be absolutely everywhere? Like,
yeah. Oh, see, I don't do a lot of dumb stuff. I probably do, but that's why we have a fine system at the club. But I seem to I think they let me off the hook a little bit because I think I'm old, so it's great. But no, I tripped over round 1 running backwards. So I run out the race. I always turn and give the girls a high five. It's just what I do. Bree does the same thing. But then I did it week 2 as well. I tripped backwards. So I fell in week 2. I think we're playing Melbourne, but I fell in the game backing back off the mark or something. Yep. And then week 3, we went to Fremantle, I reckon it was, and I tripped again. So I tripped 3 weeks in a row, and we lost all 3. It was really strange. So they're like, just run forward, like stop tripping. But no, I'll probably do some silly things, but yeah, the girls, they're pretty nice to me. So they don't stitch me up.
Yeah, nice. Maybe that was the bad luck. Maybe you kind of killed it once you got rid of the falling backwards.
Don't know. But that first game, I fractured my eye socket, which I don't think many people know that, but I did come off in the 4th. I did know that. Got an elbow from Katie, bang, straight in the eye, split my eye open. I had 3 stitches, and because I was a bit out of it, I kept going, this is a stitch up. And I thought it was funny. No one else did. So, but apparently I repeated myself 100 times. But yeah, I had a mini fracture in the eye socket, but could play the next week. So that was fun.
Yeah, talking of eye sockets, I can see that absolute just pearler you've got currently after the game against the Tigers. That is,
yeah.
Was it 3 stitches, did you say?
3 stitches after the game. The headband was really dramatic. It was not necessary, but I was trying to channel Joel Selwood. I
was going to say, you look like Selwood.
Smidge of his courage and talent. That'd be nice. But yeah, I don't know how it happened. Just one of those innocuous sort of things.
And we spoke before about how the Pies are currently 3 wins from 3 games. What do you think sort of the key this year? Like, what's changed to sort of bring about this new sort of style?
Yeah, we obviously had a new coach last year, Steve Simons, come across from SA, and he just had a completely different game style for us to learn and play, basically. And gave us a bit more freedom. So if you watched last year, people would have seen that we played a completely different brand of footy to other teams. We used our hands a lot. I think our handball to kicking ratio was almost 2-1, which is really, really strange when you think about it. But yeah, we wanted to be a sort of run and gun with a hand sort of team, which is funny now because you see Carlton have sort of adapted that. Richmond started to flick the ball around a little bit on the weekend. So yeah, and we're just sort of trying to add something else to our game now, and our outside ball use is improving. I think we're number 1 at the moment in the competition for disposal efficiency. So obviously using it quite well, but he just gave us that freedom to play and use our strengths. I know that sounds really simple and you probably hear it all the time, but the first 3 seasons, and it's no knock on Wayne Seaton, I have a great relationship with him, our ex-coach, but it was very regimented, and it was like, this is how you play, very structured. It was probably too advanced for where we were as a group. So yeah, just a bit more flexibility, and we train a little bit differently. We train probably a lot, I'd say a little bit more high intensity. And yeah, we've kept this core group together now for 2 years. Like, we've had a couple of girls shift and move on, but there's about 24 of us that have stayed the same from last year, which is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I clued you up before we started this about the predictions.
Yes.
I haven't done it with the other boys. So what we're going to do is we're going to do AFLW and AFL. AFLW perfect. Premiership, I can already assure you're going to say Collingwood, so we can sort of.
Of course. And if it's not us, I'm not sure, but I think it'll be. I thought Adelaide coming into the weekend, but then Freo smacked them. So look, you probably have to say Fremantle.
Yeah, I said you guys, because you guys are looking very good, but I also said North Melbourne because I watched them absolutely destroy Geelong, and that was
round 1. Yeah, I saw that. They're very good. Well, hopefully we get them on Saturday night. You change your mind.
Yes, maybe that'll be my decider, I think.
Yeah.
And so for League BNF, who do you reckon? I
won't be biased. I won't go my teammates. I think they'll still vote from each other's. I think Ali Blackburn.
Yeah.
She's currently on 9 votes on the women's footy show. So 3 votes each round. She's on the perfect coaches score votes. Yeah. So I think, Ali Blackburn for the Bulldogs, if they continue to win, or at least go close, then she will poll in most games.
I was going to say Ali Blackburn, but my one is I'm going to go your teammate, Britt Bonici. She has been.
You're going Britta.
Yeah, she has been unbelievable as well.
Yeah, she has been. I just worry that Breezer and
I was going to say
they're going to steal votes off her. So yeah, look, I hope she does well because she's worked really hard, that girl.
Yeah. Didn't she come? Was it second in the club BNF last year? Was that?
She was Shani. She might have been last year, and then Breezer was third. Yep. So she, she's really turned her game on its head. Really, she was a tagger when we sort of drafted her, or people thought she was just a tagger. But like I said, Steve, new coach, said let her off the leash a little bit.
Yep.
And, her work rate's phenomenal.
Absolutely. And then into the AFL, we're gonna go the premiership. Who do you think sort of?
I was talking to Mads about this before because I didn't know, but I think Geelong and Brisbane. Geelong are in their premiership window.
Yep. And
bringing in Isaac Smith, Sean Higgins. I mean, that's only going to help their case. But I really would like it to be Brisbane.
Yep.
Yeah, young, a lot of talent. Obviously, they've got Danaher now as a key focus up forward to help out. What's his name? Hipwood.
Yep.
Yeah, one of those two.
Absolutely. I've said Geelong as well. I know people are. I am clearly. I know people are sort of saying like they're maybe a bit old and who knows what they're going to do with injuries and stuff like that. And obviously Hawkins is getting old and Higgins is up there as well. But I still think they are so skilled. And I think with Jeremy Cameron coming in as well, Paddy Danger feeding the ball to Jeremy Cameron.
Well. Yeah, I forgot about him.
Danger feeding the ball to Cameron is going to be a very, very, very dangerous partnership.
I forgot about Jeremy Cameron. That's scary, isn't it? How does that happen? Anyway.
With the Brownlow, obviously it's very wide open. You can't even see the form yet. Who do you reckon?
Oh, I would love for Patrick Cripps to win it.
Yep.
It would be dependent if Carlton win more games than they lose. But if we're working off the premise that it's Geelong and Brisbane dominating, could be Paddy Dangerfield.
I thought you were going to say my pick, which is Neil. I think Neil's going to go back to back.
Lockie Neal, you reckon? No,
I reckon he'll go back to back.
I'm not sure. Yeah, again, I suppose Zorko didn't steal votes from him, did he? Yeah, but, if Paddy spends a bit more time on the half-forward flank and can kick 30-plus goals.
Yes.
Maybe.
I just think Neil with they played 16-minute quarters or 17-minute quarters, whatever it was. If you extend that and you play more games, I think he's just going to – I reckon he'll do it again.
Yeah, he accumulated, didn't he?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Actually, I think we're forgetting about the Bulldogs here, who've got the best midfield in the league.
But they might steal votes from each other, though, again.
But in terms of premiership, I don't even think of them.
Oh, yeah, premiership, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know. Who knows?
Anyway, that's scary.
And obviously the riser and faller of the comp sort of thing. Who have you got?
This is going to be really controversial.
Okay.
Like really controversial. But I think the faller is going to be Richmond. Now stay with me. Stay with me. I think that it's not a happy camp at the moment.
I actually don't mind that pick. I don't mind that pick.
Yeah, and I've got a gut feel that there's a bit going on without saying too much, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I reckon there's some things that have had a bigger impact than we think.
Yep.
So I think they'll be the faller. Who's going to be the riser? Fremantle might be okay.
Yep.
Get 5 fit. Caleb Sarong's a very good footballer.
Very, very good.
I hope St Kilda. I really do like St Kilda. Do you know why I like Mr. Ryan? Matty Ryan's one of my good friends. He absolutely loves St Kilda, and he's made me watch them. You know what I mean? When you got someone you're friends with who are so passionate about something. Yep. So I hope St Kilda. Crouch will be a fantastic addition in that midfield.
Yes, I had Matty Ryan in Year 11 PE, so every time I kind of came in, it was talking about Saints, and
he would have loved that. Absolutely loved it.
I got for my faller. I don't think they'll fall that far, but I don't think Port Adelaide will finish as high as they did last year. So they came first last year, which to me,
so you're looking at ladder positioning, not
kind of. Yeah, well, a bit of both. I don't think they were as good as what the form suggested last year.
Okay,
so they had the biggest crowds for most of their games, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of other teams didn't really have that sort of home crowd advantage. So I think
okay. I think
Port won't finish as high and won't play as well. I love Port, and I really wanted them to make the granny so that Robbie Gray could potentially win.
I love Robbie Gray. Yeah, I agree. Me too.
So I don't think they'll be anywhere near as good as they were last year, at least.
Okay, fair enough. And the riser?
I reckon the Suns. are going to be really, really good this year. Matty Real is an absolute gun. Isaac Rankin, Ben King.
Is there too much focus on Matty Real though? Like I know he's a star, but is he going to be doing too much?
Well, what I didn't realise is that Matty Real and Isaac Rankin haven't played with each other yet, and I just think that partnership is going to be.
Look at you! You look so excited about it. That's funny. Yeah, they're fun to watch. They're actually really fun to watch. And I think Alex Sexton's really underrated as a forward. I really rate him. Who did they lose? 2 metre Peter. He's gone to Essendon.
Yeah, I actually did forget about that.
Who's rucking?
Jared Witts still.
Yeah, ex-Collingwood. Yeah, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I thought they finished higher than that, but they only came 14th last year, which I thought
they'll be better than 14.
Yeah. But I thought they finished higher. I thought they had a lot better year than the ladder position suggested. So I think they'll rise and probably make finals this year.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So you've really thought this through and gone tactical and looked at ladder positioning, where I just sort of pulled it out. Okay, cool.
A little bit of both.
Yeah, fair enough.
So after footy, what's sort of your plan? Are you just going to continue teaching and stuff like that, or is there sort of like a coaching role or anything like that?
Yeah, I don't know about coaching. It's funny, I get asked this all the time, and I've never ever had a passion for coaching. And it sounds weird, obviously, because with ESP at school, but like I love that side of it because I know the kids and it's my workplace. But never had any aspirations to go out and actually coach. I'd happily do like an assistant role and chop people out here and there if they need, or even do some like leadership stuff with groups. But yeah, maybe player development, that sort of side of things. But no, I think I'll just continue teaching and then be bitter and old and jealous that I'm not running around anymore, to be honest. But one more year.
Bit of Macca.
Yeah, bit of Macca. Yeah, live through the kids. But yeah, one more year my contract and hopefully an extension after that because you can only give 2 years maximum. I'll just keep playing till I can't play anymore, basically. You're a long time retired, so I'm going to do my best to keep playing, basically.
I was going to say, for the listeners that don't know Macca, former Carlton player, How many games did he play? 14 or something like that.
14, number 30. Reckons he broke 6 collarbones.
Oh.
None of them were his.
Yeah, that's his number one saying.
He's his number one saying, but he
broke 14 collarbones and none of them were his own.
Yeah, he's a ripper, but fantastic coach, very passionate.
Yes, absolutely. And I was going to say, if you turn into just something like that, where you're just continuously telling people about how you broke people's collarbones and stuff like that.
Yeah, you should get him on the podcast. He'd be an absolute hoot. I dare say you have to edit a lot of it, but he would be very entertaining, no doubt. He
would be very fun. We get that video of him with the pasta hitting his face or whatever it is. I can't even think what food hits. There's this slow-mo video of him standing there and this food like slow-mo hits him in the side of the head.
I haven't seen that. That would be very funny.
Just look up like Paul McCormick for like pasta or food or something like that and it pops up.
On YouTube. All right, perfect. Done.
Unbelievable.
Done.
Thank you very much for coming on. Obviously, this has been very, very, very fun and insightful.
No worries. Thanks for having me. I hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, absolutely. And I very much enjoyed it. And you'll be the fourth episode. So that's on the out, I've got
perfect.
Yes, I don't know. Max Lynch is just the one was just before you. So
oh really? Okay.
He is hilarious.
He's an absolute cracker. Yes. He trimmed his mullet though, so I'm really disappointed.
We do touch on that, and it's very sad.
Oh good, I'm glad. He's such a lovely fella. He's taken Lyndon Dunn's number 15 now. So
I did see that actually. He's not the 45 anymore. So
no, he's not. Oh good. All right. Well, I'm pleased to be following him. He's a ripper.
2 pies in a row. Thank you very much for coming on.
No worries.
I really appreciate it.
Anytime. All good. Thanks for having me.
Cheers.